Let's see. The snow. Let's figure out what we're playing. I don't think I'm playing Oculus, or I don't think I'm playing Sultai today. I'm just doing Dimir. Got like a list of too many test cards to try out. Too many matchups that like I haven't seen yet. Like I still haven't run into that was the black white blink deck at all. I posted a list with like a bunch of thought seizes, no counter spells, no Murktide. I think I'm gonna give it a shot. Thought seize. It sounds like a good place to start the day. If I can remember like half of what was in that list. Let's go to his Twitter. Assume he's got it there somewhere. Whoever wants to load. Torpor Orb was one of the cards I was going to try out today. Harbingers in the main. See Torpor Orb. Waiting on Twitter. Everything else is working, but for whatever reason, Twitter's not. Sorry, I've been sick like all weekend and the start of this week. So if I cough and I can't get to the microphone mute in time, please don't hate me. I wonder what could realistically be on the unbanned horizon, given the below expectations impact of the unbanned cards, and that they pretty much did not birth or empower very old archetypes that were not present for a long time. Well, I know plenty of people, when they had this announcement, were wondering if they were going to unban something like Birthing Pod or Umazawa's Jitte or Punishing Fire or something like that. It could be that the current unbans have kind of shown that like the cards we thought could be too good haven't been impactful, so the ones that were like lower on the radar already might not be too bad. Nicholas, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon. I could see them just saying like, yo, we're gonna unban Birthing Pod, unban Jitte, just cause why not? But I'm also really in the camp of like not unbanning things just for the sake of unbanning stuff. It's evening, it's 1 o'clock here. Unless 1 o'clock's evening for you. You know, in my small little closed-minded world, everybody's on the same time zone that I'm on. Well, good evening to you. Added Nihil Spellbomb and then just didn't put it in the deck. But I've got like a whole list of stuff somewhere to start going down. Cards that I got to knock out testing for. And I figure the more I can get to them on stream or on YouTube, the better it'll help like y'all out for any potential RCs that you have coming up. Even though mine's not until March. Extirpate was also one I wanted to try. More interested in the next BNR than the upcoming sets. I mean, probably fine, right? Like, next BNR. When's the date of the next BNR? They didn't say anything about like going back to a whenever announcement, did they? So it's still like 3 or 5 weeks or whatever after a normal announcement. All right, I should have had this this list like figured out before I started, but just kind of decided spur of the moment to stream. BNR's after Charlotte. Less. I don't want to deal with like more announcements while I'm in the middle of Charlotte prep. I already have to deal with this Aether Drift set coming out between now and then. I'll need more on top of that. All right. And I explain why the lack of Bowmasters in the blacklist or blue blacklist, very heavily played card according to Goldfish, but for some reason it's only played in energy. Sure. So I can give my opinions of the card. Whether they line up with everybody else, no idea. But at least from my standpoint, Bowmasters has the issue of it's really good against like some tier 3 combo decks. Like you'll randomly run into an Eggs player or a Cheerios player or something like that, and you're like, oh, I got Bowmasters, and I just automatically win. But against a lot of the popular decks in Modern right now, like Boros, it's only good against exactly Ocelot Pride and exactly if you're on the play. Any other time, pretty subpar. In the Oculus mirror, it's kind of cool if you hit a cantrip or two, but as soon as an Oculus itself or a frog comes down, Bowmaster just doesn't matter anymore. Just gets outclassed, outsized, and you don't care about taking a ping or two if you're hitting them with like a good sized frog. Past that, it's not good into Eldrazi. It's not good into Amulet Titan. It's not good into Underworld Breach, like the Grinding Station Breach deck. It's what else is at the top of the Modern metagame right now? It's just like not good into much that's showing up a lot. When we first had the unbans and Faithless Looting was everywhere, it was really good into opposing Bowmaster decks or opposing Faithless Looting decks. Like Arclight was showing up a decent bit. You saw like Dredge from time to time. Hollow One showing up a reasonable amount. But since those decks have been just like falling off the radar completely, Bowmaster just like hasn't kept up because it's not as good into the stuff up here, if that makes sense. Happy Bowmaster's less common since I played Blue Moon. Yeah, like Blue Moon's not a matchup that I'm teching for very hard. No offense. So that's a big part of the reason. What else was I gonna try? Picklock, Prankster. I've got like a couple little changes here. Like I'm swapping. I had the third and fourth consider. I'm swapping them back to the third and fourth thought scour instead. I refuse to run subtlety. I think that card is absolutely abysmal. What am I missing for my last card? Or no, one too many. Shoot the sheriffs. Or the long goodbyes. Maybe I just won't run picklock. Fireworks, what's up? Oh, fireworks. Funny story. I was like looking around on YouTube last night, just like checking out some other Dimir content. And I ran across a dude that posted a video, and the very first matchup of the video was against you. Like, what are the odds there? I don't remember who won, but how do you feel about EE in the side? Really like having sweeper for constructs, lots of saga in my meta. It's on my list to try out, so I guess we kind of can throw one over a toxic deluge and give it a shot here. Got enough stuff to test. Like, might as well just start throwing copies and everything. I don't want to play Soulless Jailer. Still have another. Let's give the Kaito a shot without Bowmasters. Did you punt? I don't think so. Let me see if I can find it. I remember the person's YouTube name was something like Bad Control Player. Dimir Oculus. Filter by upload date. Where was it? Like, I wish I could say I was making up the name being something like Bad Control Player, because I thought it was pretty funny. I know the video is just updated or uploaded in like the last few days, so you'd think it wouldn't be. There's like a history option. History, aha. That Bad Control Player. That's the name of their channel. And I went to it, and the very first matchup was against Ironworks. I was like, ha ha ha, that's great. I don't think there were punts. I think the Oculus dude just like drew all of his Murktides and enough removal, but beside the point. All right. So let's answer some chat questions, and then we'll hop into this league. We can do like a YouTube intro. Yeah, I think you were playing Hollow One, and it was just one of those situations where like you'd Burning Inquiry, and he'd discard everything that wasn't a Murktide and just keep a Murktide. And like, ah, well, it's not much you can do about that. So you value split second more than casting for 0. Can you elaborate this more? Just interested, not doubting. It's not so much that I value the split second more. It's more that, well, I guess I do value the split second more, but I don't really like put one above the other. But I want to try out the split second. It's mostly because if you want to bring it in against things like opposing Murktide decks, then not being able to eat the target with a frog in response to the extirpate is really nice. Or have like a Cling to Dust to take out the own target and start or stop surgical. Against a lot of like the other combo decks, it doesn't really matter if you pay a mana or not. It's a little bit awkward with Harbinger sometimes, but it's not like the end of the world. But really, I just want to try it as something that you cannot respond to. What did I think? One of the spies was banned in Modern. One of what spies? Why long overshoot? Because long says can't be countered. So in the Oculus mirror, being able to kill a frog or an Oculus or something whenever you want to answer it, instead of when the mana is efficient to hold up counterspell or risking having your answer countered, is a pretty big deal. It also hits things like Flip to Johnny, Flip Tamio, Teferi that Long Goodbye doesn't hit, or that Shoot the Sheriff doesn't hit. The only thing that Shoot the Sheriff hits that Long Goodbye doesn't is like Murktide and Scion of Draco, really. And Murktide, you still have 2 Sink into Stupor. I can't remember if I was going to run an Otawara. Guess not. You still have 2 Sink into Stupor. You have a Shoot. You've got some like Brazen Borrower to kind of fight over that part. Long so good now. I've been main decking a copy as well. I've been on 2 for a minute, and then when I tried out Soul Tie, I was running 2 Abrupt Decays in that slot, and I've been really happy. Thoughts on Graveyard Trespasser? I like Graveyard Trespasser. I do think it's a lot better in like these unearthed shells than it is in the traditional Murktide shells. Like I had a really sweet play the other day where I was against Boros Energy, and I played out a Graveyard Trespasser, like exiled something out of their yard. They Galvanic Discharge, ditching a Flage, and I just got to like untap, unearth the Trespasser again, exile the Flage, and was like, cool. Also, it was nighttime because they didn't play anything on their side. More Kaito, please. Kaito's way worse without Bowmaster, so I don't want to like overload on Kaitos here. If we play a league with Bowmaster next, then I'll go up to 2 Kaito, because I do think he's like pretty good in the mirror. Could be okay with Brazen Borrowers, but you need the bodies. You need stuff that you're willing to bring back or just lose, like the token. Okay, so let's do a YouTube intro, and then we will get into the league. So what's up, YouTube? What's up, Twitch chat? Hope everybody's having an awesome afternoon. Playing through some Dimir Oculus right now. We're getting into the bulk of like RC testing season. So if you see a bunch of really funky card choices or a bunch of funky one-ofs, that's probably the reason there. This main deck is inspired by Paiganti, who posted a list on Twitter with like no counter spells, no Murktides. So I'm giving it a shot here. I think I swapped a few cards around, like the 3rd and 4th Consider. I swapped to a 3rd and 4th Thought Scour. The Subtlety I dropped. The Picklock Prankster I dropped for 2 Long Goodbyes. The rest of the main pretty much the same. The justification that he gave about the list was things like Counterspell, really bad on the draw when you need to be interacting early and often. You just like fall too far behind if you can't answer their 1-drop and their 2-drop. So you get to add more 1-mana interaction with Spell Pierces, Thought Seizes, Stern Scolding in the main with this iteration. And then Bowmaster is not very effective into a lot of the top decks in the meta. Murktide as well just makes you too grave dependent. So instead of being as easy, as susceptible to things like Nihil Spellbomb, Leyline of the Void, just choosing to go a little lighter on the threat density on the grave dependent side. In the sideboard, trying out some stuff like Extirpate in that kind of Extirpate surgical slot. Trying out Torpor Orb, mostly for the black-white Blink deck that's showing up a lot right now. Apparently, it's really popular in the leagues. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to see how Torpor Orb does against it. Brazen Borrower to complement the one in the main. Kaito is a kind of graveyard hate juke we're trying out. So it's really good into things like the Mirror if they're running Grave Hate and you get Kaito because you can stun down a Frog, stun down a Murktide. If you're able to ninjutsu it, then it's uncounterable. It's a hex-proof threat on your turn, so it can't be hit by their spot removal spells, and a planeswalker on their turn, so still can't be hit by a lot of the spot removal spells. And then engineered explosives, just as like a complement to this toxic deluge, to try out a little extra hate for energy, rhinos, mox opal decks, whatever. So that's what we got. Let's go ahead and jump in, see what happens. Modern League. Go. I don't believe that you're really running Thoughtseize after your review. It was in the list. I've been liking one Disruptor Flute against Belcher, Yogg, Rhinos, Titan. I remember there was a time that I was like really about trying out Disruptor Flute and everything, and I ended up dropping it to just go to Pithing Needle. I felt like I had a good enough matchup against things like Titan that I didn't really care about improving the casting cost. But Pithing Needle just being a one-mana answer into things like Yogg and Belcher and whatnot was really solid. I think if you like the Disruptor Flute idea, I'd probably recommend just running Pithing Needle instead for the mana reduction. Like, you already know what you're naming. You don't really care about seeing their hand. Like, if you're playing it against Belcher, for example, there is one thing to name. Period. So I don't need to see. All right, so 5 lands, 3 fetches. So we're on the draw. Spell Snare is a lot better on the draw, or it's like good on the draw. We could have turn 1 Surveil land, fetch, Surveil card in the yard, turn 2 fetch, Surveil card, Spell Snare something, turn 3 fetch, and cast Oculus. But that's only if everything went perfectly and we're not far behind. So I think I'm going to throw this back just because that's a lot of pressure to put on Spell Snare. It's not a very proactive hand. This is a lot better because we also open ourselves up to possibly like Thoughtseizing ourselves onto an Unearth and Oculus. So we'll keep throwback. I don't need double blue in this build. I think I'm going to throw back the Swamp anyway, just so I can maybe get Surveil lands. Reacting to Cascade and Suspended Blooms are cool. Maybe not so much the bloom, since they can just pay for it. But yeah, it's fine into Suspended Cascade cards. But it's like not doing anything against the rest of the deck, right? It's not something you just randomly top deck late. Okay. Interesting decision already. I can get a Swamp and Thoughtseize. I can play Undercity to set up for a turn 2 shoot the Sheriff. I can play a fetch land and try to Surveil. I'm really leaning towards just get a basic Swamp and Thoughtseize. Hopefully we can slow him down a little bit. Maybe we shoot the Sheriff, the Ocelot Pride on turn 2. I'm a little bit worried that if I go Surveil land and plan on like Thoughtseizing myself and Oculus on turn 2, that they could just have an answer for the Oculus and I fall behind. But if I Thoughtseize on 1, I can potentially take an answer to an Oculus and look towards just like hard casting the Oculus on 3. So they do have another guide and an Ocelot Pride, as well as a Thraben Charm. So, pretty good hand against us. If I take the Ocelot Pride, they play the guide, I can shoot the Sheriff, the Ocelot Pride they already have. Lose things down a little bit. Still gonna have to deal with like this Thraben charm. But if I get to hard cast the Oculus the first time and they deal with it with discharge, I can unearth it later. So I think I'm going to take the Ocelot Pride to keep things from going like way too wide too quickly. I think I'm just like never beating second Ocelot Pride here. Arid Mesa, sure. Fatal Push is a really good top deck here. So I could just Undercity Sewers. Yeah. Ooh. All right. If I bend the frog, they go to discharge. I would have to ditch my entire hand, but I cannot survive discharge plus Thraben charm on the frog. So I think I'm going to put the frog in the yard, hold up Fatal Push. This might incentivize them to like fire off the Thraben charm earlier. And if they do that, I've got some more spells to kind of help fill my yard to get the Oculus back. I do want to kill this Ocelot Pride. They bend an Arid Mesa for the Elegant Parlor, so kind of hoping this card is dead. I wonder if this is like a Felia. You have a Felia? Or are you just gonna Raven Charm me? Discharge Rune Cat token. Oh, I'm okay with that since I've got this Shoot the Sheriff. Okay. If they don't have another land, this is really good for me. See what they decide to do with the Guide of Souls, but I'm probably just going to have to shoot the Ragavan regardless. Oh yeah, Ragavan's an outlaw. I gotta be an outlaw. Rude. With the Verdant Catacombs, sure. Now I have to assume if I go for the fetch that they're going to Thraben Charm me. Put that on top in case they do. Yep. All right, so we got a Thought Scour. Maybe we flip over something. don't know how exciting unearthing a brazen borrower feels like right here. We do have a full yard for Oculus, and I've got a blue card for Force. So could be a worse spot to be in. Raven Charm's gone. Hopefully they're nice enough to just like fly this guide. Use up all their energy. Why'd I crash out of the 5K after beating you? I didn't crash out. I dropped at 2 losses. Because we were planning on leaving at some point anyway. So as soon as I picked up the second loss and was like, oh, I'm dead for top 8, I'm dropping. So that third loss was unofficial. We're not going to hold that one against me. You top 16? Nice. See if I can find... I know one of the opponents I played a couple rounds after you was a green-black rock player that went undefeated in the Swiss. Got a pretty sweet list. Breakers were so bad, you're actually the last X2. My fault. My fault. Sorry. That's on me. Cruxion, what's up? All right, Oculus. I need you to flip me something good. We don't have any counter spells in the deck. So I kind of need to find something before they're able to get back a Flage. So I need to find like a Harbinger or just Oculus flip over more Oculi. Something. At least they can't. Okay. At least they can't kill my Oculus into turn. But I guess if they have a Flage, I'm just dead. Okay. Bolton to Flage. Got it. Definitely the downside of running a list with no counter spells. Situations like that, a little bit awkward. I don't know if I want extra paid here. Maybe. Like my definite bring-ins, my maybe pile. Do I still have the sticker? Do I still have the sticker? What kind of a question is that? I definitely offered one of the extra ones to like 3 other opponents over the course of the weekend, and they just wouldn't take them. I was kind of mad. Brazen Bar seems kind of bad. Harbinger. Actually, Spell Pierce I'm kind of like 50-50 on. I've seen some builds just running Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Showdown of the Skulls and stuff like that. Kevin, what's up? And Spell Pierce is like really good into those, but it's really awkward if they're on just like a Spyrophilia kind of build. It is good for bombardment. Everyone more than one when I offered them. I mean, I still got like 2 extra ones in my bag over there. But yeah, I absolutely tried offering them out to a couple opponents, including one that beat me. And they were like, no, I'm good. It's like, no, you're not. You don't understand. You need this sticker in your life. Gonna mail one to Kevin because I think he deserves to have to look at it just all the time. Grinding Station throwing up disproportionate numbers with Mox Opal having to have a legend for Mox Amber was keeping it safe. It's decent, right? Answers Flage, answers something on the draw. Is that a cartoon of us when we respond to the respective 5-0 tweets? It literally is. The straight up eat a dick sticker. Alright. Not spell snaring anything on turn 1. Considers better than the random draw. Probably jamming a frog on 2, but we'll see what they do on 1. Are we off counterspell because it's too clunky in the mirror? So most of this list, like 65 of the 75 or so, was from a tweet that Pygonti put out. And he was not running Counterspell or Murktide Regent. So I'm basically like running most of that list to try it out. But allegedly, a lot of the reason comes from, yeah, it's clunky, not necessarily just in the mirror, but if you have like multiple counter spells on the draw, there's risks that you're not interacting on turn 1, not interacting on turn 2, and by 3, it's just like getting overwhelmed. So chose to go with more 1 mana interaction and less counter spells. So more like Stern Scoldings, Thought Seizes, more 1 mana draw spells. Okay. So seeing Plains Mountain makes me wonder if they have got a Blood Moon or if they're just playing around Harbinger. Either one I think is reasonable. I could go fetch, discard everything but Oculus, hard cast the Oculus. Just have like a, 5-6 frog and an Oculus. But if they have a Thraben charm, then none of that looks particularly good. So I kind of want to hold up Spell Snare. I could consider first looking for a not a Thought Scour, looking for an Unearth. I don't hate that. Need on to consider. You love when a plan comes together. So I do want to get my basic swamp in case they have Blood Moon. And then we will exile some stuff to fly the frog. And I am going to discard the Oculus before damage. Discard Oculus. Get you for a couple. Oop. Unearth the Oculus. Please don't surgical me. I said please. I literally said it. All right. So I want to keep my Oculuses in the deck. So I'm going to exile some stuff to Frog, just put another counter on it. And kind of hope that they just don't have something like a Static Prison here. Because they probably would have played it on turn 2 and just gotten rid of the frog. I did manifest that. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have said something like, man, I hope they don't have a, what's the white shoal? Like prevents damage and deals damage equal to how much you prevented or whatever. I hope they don't have that. Yeah, Shining Shoal. I hope they don't exile a Flage to Shining Shoal my frog. All right, opponent, what's the plan? Can't really say anything. I've played pretty slow this game. Flage me. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So I think there's a decent chance I'm going to go to my turn, EE on 0, and blow up the cat and the Fable token. And if they want to flip the Ajani, then I'll just attack it down with the frog. Yeah, especially if they're putting counters on the cat here. Nope, not that one. Wrong artifact. Blow you up. You'd like to flip the Ajani. You would not. Now we'll hit you with the frog. I think I'm going to go ahead and discard this other frog. Since I'm not playing it out. I don't think I'm playing it out regardless of what I hit. And I kind of want to get some more cards of the yard so that I can keep flying the frog. It's like we're looking at a 2-turn clock here. If we're able to just throw some stuff into the frog, hit him in the air, do it again next turn. Get him to stop hitting like Ragavans. This is a hit for 4. I think I'm safe to consider end of turn. Hit a spell snare. That's fine. One, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to think if they have like Flage plus dash Ragavan again next turn. That's lethal. So I would like to find Fatal Push or Shoot the Sheriff, Long Goodbye, something. This is dealing 6, so I just gotta ditch the hand. and hope that their last card isn't a galvanic discharge. Okay. Good draw. Good draw. So let's hit him with a frog. I want to discard this polluted delta. Make sure I deal damage or deal lethal next turn through like the 1 life gain off the guide. Didn't even think about the reflection. So okay. So if I spell pierce, target this, they resolve it. They pay the white and the treasure to resolve it because they can just like cast the Ragavan and haste it up. I should. Let me double check. Spell pierce this. They pay the 2. Before this resolves, I shoot the sheriff, the guide of souls. They cast Ragavan, attack for 3, put me down to 8. They have 3 bodies to sack. Or hit me down to 5, 3 bodies to sack. I go to 2. Sack the treasure. Yeah. For Pierce. And now we shoot the sheriff, the guide of souls. They don't get the energy. They can't fly something. Goblin bombardment resolves. They get to Ragavan. Yep. You have to hit a fatal push off the top of my library, which is all right. Extirpate, sure. Yeah, makes sense to extirpate just to see deck list. On to game 3. Don't like Harbinger as much on the draw. We saw Ghost Vacuum get flipped over early. Bring in a Pierce on the draw. Yeah, we've seen Fable now. So Pierce is a lot better. Could bring in a Force. Like a Force for Kaito on the draw. Just slow. Maybe protect a frog. Sure. I'll buy it. See what we get for game 3. When does everybody have RCQs or RCs going on? People going to Portland, or I know like some of the European players have RCs sooner than some of the US. Hmm. Going to Portland. I think I'm shipping this. The second spell bomb's pretty dead. If I had a second land somewhere, I'd keep it, but like no fatal push, no cheap interaction. We have cheap interaction, but not like the good cheap interaction. Keep this throwback force because we're already down a card. Blue black's your front runner. Blue black is good. By the way, I'm Noe from Discord. I figured that. I think I knew that before, but appreciate the heads up in case I'd forgotten. Going to Charlotte, we'll see you there. Yeah, Charlotte's gonna be pretty solid. Going to Portland, but I'm not qualified yet. Hope to LCQ in. I believe in you. I think I homie scooped like 3 RCQ finals this season because I would go to Portland if everybody I knew here was already qualified for Charlotte, but because a couple of them didn't qualify till later, I'd rather go to Charlotte with a bunch of people than go to Portland like by myself. Even though I know a bunch of people in Portland. In case Stream didn't know, live in Mississippi, actually a University of Oregon alumni. So quite a few connections in the Portland area. Please don't guide for me. Push off the top. Nope. Yeah. I am a duck. I am in fact a duck. It's always funny because like the conversation comes up a surprising amount and nobody ever believes me. So in the back of my wallet, I've actually got I think it's still in here. Might not be. Nope. That's so blurry. My old student ID. It's also a really funny talking point. All right, so we got a ghost vacuum. Not the scariest thing in the world. Ghost vacuum's like pretty slow grave hate. How about you go from Oregon, land in Mississippi? Well, actually, the other way around. From Mississippi, went to Oregon for college. Went for marine biology originally, swapped into psychology. Finished up undergrad there. Came back for grad. Shoot the sheriff. Somebody asked before we started this league, like, why long goodbye? And shoot the sheriff, just looking bad over and over and over and over again. Can't shoot the sheriff or Ragavan. But I went out there for undergrad and then came back for grad school. Did you know Ragavan is an outlaw? It's one of like 3 relevant outlaws in all of modern, but it's here. And it makes me sad and angry that I've got to shoot the sheriff. Do anything about it. Opponent's going to be really upset when we fetch up a Dryad Arbor to block this. Part of me wants to Surveil just to try to put something dead on top, but I think I need to wait and save up in case I need a double spell. Just looking at Long Goodbye, card seems underplayed. Card is phenomenal in the mirror. Like, it's really good against any of the small creature decks since it kills like Flip to Johnny and stuff. Flip Tameo, whatever. But in the mirror, answering Frog or Oculus when you want to, not just like when you have mana available and can hold up counter for their counter, just answer it whenever. Answer, what's it called? Graveyard Trespasser without caring about ward is really funny. Well, dang. Multi-stream notifications. It does kill Grist. Grist is a very problematic Magic card. Does not kill Titan, but as we've seen, Titan's a buy anyway, so you don't really need to kill Titan. Deck's such a free win. Frog action's kind of nice. Who plays Titan? Nobody I know plays that deck. Oops. Deck's just begging to go 5-2 at an RCQ. Why not let Guide Resolve and then blow up everything with EE? I could have, but I didn't want the follow-up to be something like a Johnny and just get a bunch of energy and be able to answer whatever I play. I didn't think the follow-up was going to be a Seasoned Pyromancer with 3 cards in hand or whatever. What is this screaming to me? We're going to find out. Probably just ditch the EE at this point. Fun fact, you're the only blue-black player I've ever lost to. Justice. I'm hoping if this is a Flage that I'll just be able to save the frog and figure something out from there. All right, we'll do this like last turn. We're gonna EE on 0. Blow up the tokens and see if they want to flip the Ajani. Have you thought about an Oculus build with pick locks instead of scours for better selection? I thought about an Oculus build with pick lock instead of scour for better selection. You can grab things off it for land drops. Well, if you have 2 lands, you probably don't need like a third, right? You don't need to grab one. I thought about spell snare. The problem was if I snared right there, I go down to 2 cards in hand. So if their last card is a galvanic discharge, they can kill my frog. I can't discard enough to save it. So I'd rather save the 3rd card in hand and just like go all in on frog if that's their last card and hope it can draw me out of there. Like not a perfect plan, but the Ragavan. Spyros. So many Spyros. All right, so let's discard to save the frog. Just discard a snare because clearly they're not doing enough for me. They have like another discharge. I can spell pierce, take some damage, but get to untap. Am I just fatal pushing the Ajani? Or am I holding up Pierce in case their last card is another discharge? I'm just pushing the Ajani. Their last card's another discharge. I can just play the Oculus still. Could be like a Ragavan too. Punished. Punished. Gotta love Boros, right? I don't know if I would say a good state. Like, if they just want to start exiling things like their own Ajani and Ragavan, other guide, and pop Ghost Vacuum, like, they can make up some big flyers pretty quick. Like, I'm not as going as far as saying it's a bad spot to be in. I just don't know if I'd say, like, we're really good. We need a brick. Can we attack here? If they hit a land, exile a Johnny, hit a land. Yeah, I'm just dead if they hit a land, right? No matter what I do. Because they can play Ghost Vacuum, get a new Johnny copy, flip the old one, zero it, and just shoot me for lethal. So I'm dead regardless if they do that. But if I attack, then what if... Yeah. If they hit a land, I'm just dead. So there's no reason to play around them hitting a land. Like I could try to say, oh, they misplay and exile the wrong thing, and then they hit a land and I'm not dead, but... Have lethal, hit the land. Okay. Kind of funny seeing Ghost Vacuum win from like exiling their own stuff and not mine. So see. I think we probably should have considered EE on 1 earlier this game. Possibly, but like all we were hitting was the Ragavan, right? What was the first couple turns? They had the turn 1 Ragavan, which is like a nightmare for us to deal with to begin with. Then they had Ghost Vacuum. So if we had played EE on 2 into Ghost Vacuum Ragavan, we would have hit the Ghost Vacuum and the Ragavan, but ultimately, like, the Ghost Vacuum killed us, the Ragavan didn't. The Ghost Vacuum requires them hitting 6 lands on turn, I guess this is 7. I don't know, like... I think the EE on 1 is kind of like the hindsight play. Because we're talking about things like, oh, they had to have a second Ajani or the Ghost Vacuum didn't matter. They did have a second Ragavan. And the EE on 1, like, wouldn't have stopped the Spyro tokens and the cat token. I don't know. I'm not saying the EE on 1's like wrong. It just feels a little, like I said, a little hindsighty. Because other than them having a second Ajani or like drawing a second Ajani, the Ghost Vacuum didn't matter. And I think the Ragavan like hit a consider and that was it. And they still had to hit that 6th land. Usually if your Boros opponent floods out, you're pretty happy. Just kind of happened that this time it wasn't the case. GG's for sure. We were talking about the Ragavan and the Ghost Vacuum. Like I had an engineered explosives in the opener and decided not to take out the vacuum because like the vacuum's okay against Unearth. It's not great against just like hard casting Oculus and stuff. Yeah, the double Galvanic got me bad. I had a Spell Pierce. Yeah, I had a Spell Pierce and something else. Like Spell Pierce, Spell Snare, and was talking about the only way I get got is if the last card is another discharge. Because, like, I could have just held up, not gone for the consider or whatever, and Spell Pierce the discharge if you had it into turn there. And saved my frog. And just like, no. Go for it. Ooh, for me. Yeah, the Ragavan was super rough because I think first draw step hit the shoot the sheriff, and it's just like one of two or three relevant outlaws in the format, and Dorothy doesn't even see play hardly. So, I could have forced that, but I don't really want to spend a force on a turn one Thoughtseize. So waiting for you to figure out how to add Death Shadow to the deck. So the issue I've seen with a lot of Death Shadow lists popping up is, dude, what's with all these Ragavans today? Death Shadow just makes the deck worse because all of a sudden, like, you're less good against Blood Moon. You can't run Harbinger, and you're losing a bunch of life for like no real reason. There's sync. The whole thing was relevant too. Yeah, it happens. Like, it's only Ragavan and Dolthy that you realistically care about. I want a Harbinger. And sometimes you just see them. Sometimes the energy players aren't running them and you feel good. And so I can go fetch up another Surveil land, flip over the card, and then next turn fetch and be able to hard cast an Oculus, which means I kind of need to fetch before this Ragavan hits, because if they hit my Surveil land, I can't hard cast an Oculus on 3. I know it's like a small percent, but a small percent is still a percent. I still have force up. Then over a Thought Scour, hit a Thought Scour. Bruh. I make one comment about outlaws, and this is what happens to me. You're gonna Thought Scour me. Sure. All right. Who's that person? That person at the start of this league that said, why long goodbye? Why not more shoot the sheriffs? So I want to ban that person right now. They're on my naughty list. I want to have a discussion with that person. I still compete in the RC. If I don't have Oculus, I do have Tamiyo's. Yeah, there's some non-Oculus builds running around that I think are perfectly reasonable. So we are going to force this, exile a sink into stupor. See if they want to Dolthy back. They don't. Or Infernal Grasp. Is Infernal Grasp the destroy something, lose 2, life 1? Try to pierce this. Kind of feel like I should. But at the same time, I guess I don't really care about it. Like they're gonna hit an Oculus and a Harbinger from the yard, but I already can't cast Oculus. Well, they can't hit both Oculus from hand, right? On the other hand, choose an artifact or creature card from it, an artifact or creature, then choose an artifact or creature card from the graveyard. So yeah, they just get like the Oculus in hand and the Harbinger, which is fine because I'm not doing anything with those anyway at the moment. Doesn't change the fact that I still need to like find an answer for the Dolthy. A little bit surprised they didn't just. Oh, this exiles, doesn't it? Yeah. To draw all the Oculus. Who cares? Stonks. Okay, so what's got a counter on it? Thought Scour, Force Negation, Long Goodbye. I probably just need to go ahead and Fatal Push this now. I don't want him to untap with a Long Goodbye. Then again, they had it last turn. They didn't use it, so. Spell Pierce this, so if they decide to pay, they can't Ragavan, and I can just get an Oculus down, or they don't pay, never mind. That seems not as good as just paying for the Pierce. Like, you already know that I have an Oculus. I'm going to be able to hard cast it regardless. So I feel like the last thing you want is for me to have a frog that's hitting you and an Oculus. I've definitely not updated the Mox field. Whoops. We'll get that after this game or something. All right, so let's just play out an Oculus. And I'm probably going to do something like discard everything to the frog next turn and just cast another Oculus. Could have a Fatal Push here. Sure. The fact that we're in a solid position right now as well. The opponent has had cards. They have had cards, haven't they? This. All right. Long goodbye, the frog. Cool. What we got to do is keep drawing frogs. So we'll Thought Scour ourselves first in case I draw into an Unearth, and then I can frog, discard Oculus, unearth it, and just kind of get to do everything. But since we did not, we will just play this here. Oculus. Hope there's not another fatal push. Oof. Card borrower. Ooh. The tapped black cleave cliffs of shame. What's the CMC on Croxa? Asking for a friend. Asking for a friend. The OP just give up? I don't know if I'd say they gave up. They definitely had a fight here. I guess if they just drew dead, conceding there is probably fine. I feel like you still make me do it, right? But ooh, this could be a really good Kaito match. Could be. I've got to take Dolphy into account. All right. Force, pretty bad. Thoughtseize, pretty mid. Maybe I just want to bring in like a borrower over one of those. I really don't want to board in Extirpate for Croxa. So Torpor Orb, mostly black-white blank. I have not seen the deck yet, and I want to see how Torpor Orb does against it. But I haven't gotten a chance to test it out yet. Or versus Boros Mardu could be good. Could be. Johnny, Flage, Guide of Souls. All right. Opponent not having anything on turn 1 is pretty good for me. Really need to find another land. No. No. Be gone, Satan. Be gone. Please hit a land. Land one time dealer. Nice. Okay. I'm going to go with Thoughtseize here. Opponent just started off double swamp. So if the rest of their hand is like Red Source Blood Moon, I could just snap lose to that if they resolve it. So I think that I've got most of their follow-ups covered with like Spell Snare and whatnot. Surgical Extraction. All right. We're just gonna take the Fable, like best card in hand. They also do not currently have a red source. So, pass turn. Turbo stop guide triggers. Oh wow, it does. Stops all triggers. Yeah, creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. across the board. Yeah, Croaks is fine. We'll ditch Stern Scolding. We'll need that at the moment. Yeah, Flage would not sacrifice. I think I like keeping this spell snare, so if I find a third land here, I can like frog, hold up snare. Need another spell bomb. I really don't want him to kill my frog and surgical it. So we're going to go with this whole just spell bomb the Flage, draw a card. Got it. Cracking it now. Yeah. Love it. Love it. We know their hand perfectly. We're totally going to find a land here. Should have specified. That's on me. That's on me. Do I want another fatal push? Not really. Go ahead. I'm okay if they want to surgical either of these. Okay. What do you think the odds are that opponent is running some card like, say, Shieldred? I'm just debating if I want to long goodbye versus shoot the sheriff. If I long goodbye and they do have something like Shieldred in their deck, then I save shoot the sheriff. But if I long goodbye and they have a Ragavan, I don't have an answer to it. But I do just have double Psychic Frog. We're going to err on the side of not lose to Shieldred. We were destined one way or another to have these fatal pushes. Choose to discard nothing. So they got Terminate, Surgical, Unknown. Healthy. Nice. I like where this is going. So go ahead and get you off the board. Not dealing with that. Card with frog. Play another frog. And go. Surgical Extraction, Verdant Catacombs. Deal. All right, and then here, yeah, we're just attacking him with our double frog. See if opponent wants to block. I doubt it, but given the option. And I think I'm just going to discard the Consider to one of these frogs Get an extra point of damage in. Go ahead and get the 6th card in the yard for the Oculus. Now, I don't think there's a reason not to play the Oculus. I could just get got by something. I say get got. If they have something like a Spyro and get to copy it, it does a lot of work kind of helping them get out of this hole. But I also just have double Frog and an Oculus, so I don't think I'm in a bad spot. Pass her to the yard. You can exile Watery Grave if you want. Roxa. Molten Collapse my Oculus. Yep. So if they go to Surgical, I'm going to discard something to this 2nd Frog and just exile the yard. Mainly because I could still get to a point of hard casting this Oculus very easily. So I would like to save it. And it gets my Frog up to a 2nd point of power. So like I'm attacking into the reflection just fine. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can't kill next turn, but we'd be in a pretty solid spot regardless. Move on to match number 3. Guy on YouTube was running straight Dimir Murktide. Seemed pretty good. Forgot his YouTube channel. I've seen a few Murktide videos that looked decent. I know Twinless Twin posted one recently that was just Murktide, no Oculus. I don't remember how he did, but I know I watched the video and liked it. I liked the list. The only thing I would be careful of if you decide to play a list with no Oculus is your flex spots become significantly more important. Like it becomes more necessary to run flex spots with a higher floor because the deck overall like doesn't have that unfair flip over something and unearth it like start. So I would just be careful of that. Other than that, yeah. All right. Darkslick Shores. So I'm assuming a mirror. Our hand's pretty good looking for a mirror. We've got Long Goodbye for an Oculus. We've got Fatal Push. Got to consider. We're kind of chilling. They just go Unearth, Graveyard, Trespasser. A little annoying, but you have an answer to it at least. I do think it's interesting that I've seen a lot of lists running Darkslick Shores recently. But I'm pretty sure the whole conversation a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago, whatever, was to run more fetches because you want more ways of getting cards in the yard for Oculus. And then turning around and not running more fetches is kind of funny. What am I doing here? They didn't unearth an Trespasser. They could just have a Frog. They didn't respond to the fetch with a Bowmaster. So I'm kind of just feeling like they've got an Oculus in hand. I don't think there's a lot of matchups in Modern that start with a fetch. Yes, they do have a Bowmaster. What do I know? I don't think there's a lot of matchups in Modern where you have like a turn 2 Trespasser on the play and don't just do that. But I've been wrong plenty of times before. I'll be wrong plenty of times in the future. I don't overly care about the Bowmaster. I know that I've got Consider in hand. So if they just pass, I'm probably Fatal Pushing it just to use my Fatal Push. Let them have this. Am I just long goodbying the Trespasser, or am I saving the long goodbye? I think I'm just gonna go Fatal Push, the Bowmaster, and Consider. It's like the long goodbye ignores the ward trigger on the Trespasser, so I get to kind of ignore that. And if I find an untapped black source, I get Thoughtseize plus long goodbye, or Thoughtseize plus frog or something. Yeah. What I got. Moto, I have paid the blue, I promise you. Hmm. Spell Snare is pretty good. Keep that. Pedro, what's up? Hmm. How's the frogging? It's been okay so far. Can't complain too much. I'm gonna keep a push in case they've got a follow up like frog to this graveyard trespasser. It's coming to play tapped lands have been a little bit awkward. This could also be really bad for me if they've got an Oculus here. So I might just wait until end of turn, like take this hit, wait until end of turn to long goodbye the trespasser. Because I think I can deal with the trespasser. I don't think I can deal with an Oculus or like the free token if I go to my turn. I guess I have to kill that, unfortunately. Awkward. Play out a frog. Pass the turn. Can't trigger revolt on my turn. Now, obviously, if they have like removal spell for frog, counter spell for my removal spell on graveyard glutton, life is going to get very bad very quickly. Some shocking in kind of leads me to believe it's just Oculus. Hmm. So is this going to be a... They've kept up one blue several times. I wonder if they've got like a spell snare. I think their hand's like... Oh, never mind. I could just spell snare this. Worth. I'm gonna like discard cards to eat the graveyard glutton anyway. Kind of an aggressive attack. All right. So I know I'm blocking. Graveyard glutton does not have death touch, thankfully. What am I discarding? Like the Thoughtseize discard's pretty free. I could discard a Fatal Push. The Unearth discard's kind of free. Free-ish. Sink into Stupor is the for sure answer to the Oculus answer. So I think I'm going to discard the Fatal Push, keep the Sink into Stupor, and be able to like bounce the Oculus, fly the frog, attack in. Try to get a little momentum that way. Did they just flip over double Oculus? Is that what we're doing here? And it's got to be either a frog or an Oculus under there, right? Last card is an Unearth. Well, I'm going to do this and see where it gets me. That Oculus had to have flipped over a couple pretty good cards if they're ditching an Oculus. Give me a frog. Yeah. Even if last card were Unearth, it feels like flipping would have been better. On flipping what? How's the league going? It's going fine. I have missed Counterspell this league a lot. Say it was Oculus Land. Saying Even if the last card were unearthed, feels like flipping would have been like putting the Oculus face down instead of putting it in the yard. Even though they might have had unearthed, feels like manifesting Oculus is better. Sure, yeah, I would agree with that. Let's try extirpates. I'm usually not a fan of like extirpate surgical kind of effects in these mirrors, but we'll give it a shot. See what happens. Force fan. Really not a spell pierce fan. I got like a little fly that's going around over here. It's bugging me. I think something like this. Board out everything that's like not a removal spell, a threat, or an enabler. But you could also say board out like a scour, consider Oculus, keep in like the thought seizes. That's fine too. How we doing? Doing okay so far. Trying out a list that Pygonti posted on Twitter. I think I swapped around like a couple small cards here and there, but nothing major. And the list that he posted took out counter spells for like stern scoldings and spell pierces. And so far in this league, we've seen like a Flage matchup round 2 and a Croxa matchup round 2. Or Flage round 1, Croxa round 2. And I really wish I had counterspell. Like, answering a Flage is kind of a big deal. So. Yeah, Spell Snare I think is fine. Because against a lot of decks in Modern, Spell Snare is good like on the draw turn 2. It's good on turn 7 when you're looking at things like Counterspell and Goblin Bombardment and stuff like that. But I don't think I would put Spell Pierce in that same category just because after like turn 3, a lot of times it can be dead. Pierce just feels so off for this grindy matchup. I agree. That's usually why I cut them post board. Usually don't get into like counter wars where Pierce is better than something like Mystical Dispute, but Dispute can also answer a frog on the draw or a lot of the cheap stuff early. I think they have a Bowmaster. I don't think they do. My Thought Scour here. If they want to spend their turn like cracking Spellbomb, that's fine. Yep. I do just have like another Thought Scour to rebuild along with some good interactive cards. All right. What you got? Bolt Dennis Springs. So that could mean that that's their last land in the hand. Last land. Because usually you kind of want to hold on to Spring. No! No! Usually you want to hold on to Springs kind of aggressively because it is an answer to opposing Murktides and you don't have a whole lot of them. Kaito, my beloved. Sadness. Maybe they'll surgical it. We can only be so lucky. All right, what you got? What you got? What you got? What you got? Got another Nihil spell bomb, sure. Am I just flashing in borrower? Do it. Might like start a little counter war over this borrower. I'm just gonna live. Are we playing Kaito? Is it solely a tempo thing? It's a dodges grave hate and dodges all removal thing. He can't be hit by fatal push, long goodbye, or shoot the sheriff because he's hexproof on your turn. And then we're going fatal push. He's hexproof on your turn, and he's a planeswalker on their turn. He's really good if you're up against like heavy frog Murktide, and a lot better with Bowmasters, but I had an extra spot in the sideboard and just needed to throw something in there this league. I don't think he's as good without Bowmasters. But here we are. I'm assuming they have a fatal push for this borrower. But like, he's uncounterable if you ninjutsu. Doesn't get hit by any of the spot removal. The only things that hit him are like Sink into Stupor and Otawara. Like basically the same things that hit Murktide. And you just haven't lived until you've ninjutsu'd in a Kaito and like stunned something on their end. Go for the Mystical Dispute. Don't have the Unearth right away, so could save this long goodbye for a turn. Nice. And I think I'm going to do this draw step. No. I would have done a draw step if I had had a stop draw step. It's actually a really good point. You got me thinking about this spiciness. I don't think it's like an S tier card or anything, but it serves a role, and that role is mostly like dodging grave hate, dodging grave hate, and being a decent threat into like a single Murktide or single Frog. Scooping up a manifest spell you need is nice. Also true. Ready for Harbinger beats? I would have loved to have taken these Harbingers out if I just had like something to take them out for. I mean, if you think we're not doing this, you're crazy. Like, I have got receipts somewhere. Sure. Why are we not? I gotta choose an app to open it. All right, that's long goodbye and a graveyard glutton. Ah, Kaito stunning down a Murktide Regent and swinging in for lethal after I emblemed for Kaito to outgrow another Murktide and take it out in combat. Kaito winning a match, stunning down a frog after ninjutsuing a Bowmasters. Yeah, see? It's totally a thing if you just don't question it ever. Okay. Option number one, attack him with Harbinger, take the trade, and unearth my Harbinger. Option number two, just unearth the Brazen Borrower. Probably the better one, right? Especially since they've already used to shoot the sheriff. And we'll just pass. Kind of say like you're limited on the number of blue spells you can, or black spells you can cast. Can't revolt for a fatal push to kill the borrower, so. Oh. Feels froggy. I also feel less bad since they also left in Harbinger. So apparently neither of us have much to board in. I'm getting Bowmaster vibes. Let's hit you with a Brazen Borrower. I played against somebody at SCG Con that was on the mirror. They also weren't running counter spells or Murktides, but proceeded to Brazen Borrower me like 3 times game one. I just kept unearthing Oculus, and they're like, sure, Brazen Borrower it. Well, damn. Next turn, ditch the frog, unearth it, Brazen Borrower it. Turn after that, ditch half my hand to frog, hardcast, and Oculus. Yeah, Brazen Borrower. I'm like, what you got? Yeah, I'm gonna spell bomb that. That That Bowmaster kind of kills my only clock. I don't really want that. I don't really want to Thoughtseize here. Think I might wait. I feel like if I Thoughtseize here and they just show something with Oculus Unearth, then I run the risk of them just being able to like either help fill up the graveyard for an Oculus. Now, hopefully, we just have like Long Goodbye, the Harbinger attack in. Maybe not. Counterspell my Spell Snare. You got it. So are we cycling the Unearth? Or am I going... I don't think I am. I think I'm going to attack in with both and just like Unearth my Harbinger. No, because they could have Fatal Push. I don't really want them to have Fatal Push. That also works. This would be... I need to Thoughtseize first in case they've got a Mystical Dispute. Add the push. We'll take Spell Snare. Nice. All right. Game 3. On the draw. Would love to get Harbinger out of my deck. So I might just like swap the Harbingers for, I don't know, maybe E and a Force. Help protect Kaito a little bit. Heck yeah, that was game 2. This is magic as Richard Garfield intended. We getting the full value out of our 50-minute timer. Ain't none of this 2 turns, game's over, mumbo jumbo. Guess while we're waiting, I can update the Mox field. Bad hand. Better ditch a sink. At least we're on the mulligan on the draw. So Dimir, Oculus, Conti, Inspired. 8. Edit, import, browse. I don't remember where I saved it to. Or save. Open, import and replace. Save. Okay. Thoughts is pretty good. Funny, what's up? Hope you're having an awesome afternoon, evening. Going okay so far. We're testing out the Pygonti list with like no counter spells and no Murktides. And I will say I 100% miss counterspell. So edit command deck list. I can be like log into everything. I don't want to log in. I don't know how someone can play zero. That's what we're trying to figure out. All right, so main phase, Thought Scour out of them. And they flipped over basic swamp, so kind of unfortunate that we took out our harbingers, you know. Take another land. And we'll go ahead and Thought Seize. See what you got going on. I could wait on this Thought Seize and like try to clear the way for something later on, but dead hand. Fatal push, call it a day. I think Pie's list is just trying to be super tuned for specifically Boros. Yeah, but I feel like you're also like not bad into Boros with just the stock list. And losing counterspell in the face of like Flage Escape or Showdown at the Scalds, Blood Moon, that kind of stuff is kind of awkward. Mostly Flage Escape and Seasoned Pyromancer. All right, so that was their draw for turn. We know their hand. We need another fatal push right now. Someone is going to Brazen Borrower someone eventually. What's the one? There's some like Brazen Borrower. Oh, it's a Thing in the Ice. It's really hilarious because if you flip Thing in the Ice, it doesn't bounce other Thing in the Ices because it's like non-horror. It'd be funny if Brazen Borrower was non-fairy, so you couldn't like bounce your opponent's Brazen Borrower. You have surgicaled my fatal pushes. What are we going to do with this information? I kind of want to just cast this Borrower, but I guess since they have both Mystical Dispute and Counterspell, it'll probably be pretty bad. I got to figure out some way to get this thing on the board. Gotta figure out some way to get this thing on the board for chat. All right, I know that they can unearth the Bowmaster. I'm trying to get some mana used up here. Just U or F. Chat's coming through. Is the stream paused? Can you hear me? Casey says stream's working. Okay. Somehow this has got to end with me getting a Kaito down, right? If I Brazen Borrower, they Mystical Dispute. If I think I have to Mystical Dispute. And I really hope that they unearth this. Lame. Lame. All right. Come on, land. Land. Right. So if I go upkeep. Nope, nope. How do I not have a stop there? Stops like anywhere. Jeez. I want to get this unearth out of hand. Is part of the issue here. So I need something with like. I need something like Spell Snare this. They unearth the frog. And I get to untap and like resolve a Kaito. And just immediately stun it. That way they can't like unearth the Bowmaster back on me. Land. Land. I need you, land. Land. Come on. You can do it. We can't have nice things. We can't have nice things. Unearth the frog. All right. So let's play our borrower. See if they decide to counterspell. No. Petty theft. Nope. All right. Attack him with a brazen borrower. Yeah. Stun down the frog. Go. Get our brazen borrower back. You have an Oculus. All right. Gonna have to figure this out. You're gonna get a token. We're also down to 3 minutes. I don't want to win on time, but like winning is winning, right? So if I go shoot the sheriff on the Oculus, I don't want to bounce it because I don't want him to just be able to replay it. And then we attack with the Kaito. We surveil with the Kaito in case I flip over something like an Oculus of my own to unearth. Long Goodbye is really good too. So put that in the graveyard, put that on top. And I kind of feel like I'm just killing this manifest token. But I guess I could wait. Yeah. In case it's something like another Oculus that they want to flip face up. So they attack. We go to blocks. Kill it. It's Bowmaster. Kaito's also great in Legacy. Yeah, I heard people were... You got another Oculus. I heard people were playing Kaito with Baleful Strix. It sounded pretty dope. All right. Opponent, can we chill just a little bit? I'm gonna petty theft your Oculus. Another brazen bar. No, that's my brazen bar. Never mind. Back in. They don't block, so I can just get an Oculus down here. Or I can tick up Kaito, get an emblem. Gets Kaito up to 3 loyalty, which is meh. Like, it's still gonna die to frog. So I think what I'm gonna do is tap down the frog, play the Oculus, just like give up the Kaito, keep the frog tapped, play my own Oculus. Yeah. Swamp just in case. Oculus, get a body, maybe flip something useful. No, got it. Kaito didn't do anything wrong, but they just keep having Oculuses. It's just really tough to keep the board kind of clear if they keep Oculusing me. Not right. Okay. Back in, see if we get the trade-off here. I could cycle the Unearth, and if I hit a fetch land, I could play an Oculus. Or I could just play a Brazen Borrower. I'm just going to play the Borrower. Because if the Borrower baits a counter spell, then I can cycle Unearth and hardcast an Oculus next turn anyway. My Borrower. Yep. Awkward one. So attack in with our Borrower. Assuming they're going to trade off. Then we start by cycling an Unearth. Because that guarantees that I can cast Oculus. But if I'd hit a land, I would have been able to, like a fetch land, I'd be able to Unearth the Borrower and play an Oculus, which would have been kind of nice. Just don't believe in hitting creatures with our Oculus, do we? Eating stuff out of their yard is pretty aggressive. So they're going to be able to discard everything and get back like hard cast Oculus anyway. So I think I'm just going to make them ditch everything, and then they can hard cast Oculus. I'll unearth my Oculus. Really wish we had an extra mana so that I could extirpate, but so they've got Counterspell left is their only card. And I've got Cast Oculus. No, cast Unearth, target Oculus. They counter this. I hard cast an Oculus. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go. Extirpate who hurt you? The people who kept saying I don't try anything fun, I guess. I kind of feel like I should just extirpate their Oculus. Guess not if they're going to do this. My Oculus is gone. They timed out. Whoops. Okay, so they hit us here down to 7. I don't think I'm casting extirpate. I draw, no idea. So, I mean, I guess we're dead in 2 turns if we don't find a way to either stand in front of the frog, deal with the frog, like this attack plus next turn's attack. Interesting. I hate winning to time, but it happens. UB is a new BG. The new 3/2 trophy deck. You got a frog manifested, right? Would you block with that? You mean on... I couldn't block the frog, so if I flip over the frog, they're just dead in the air to our attack, right? They were at 6. So yeah, we would have just killed them on our turn. Never mind. Go to our turn, flip up the frog, give it flying, like discard whatever's in our hand, give it flying, swing. So we had one Oculus. We had one card left in the yard. They exiled my Oculus. So yeah. We were fine. We were fine. Twitch won't let me log in. Join Twitch. Don't want to join. I want to log in. I don't know my Twitch password. Come on. Who memorizes these things? And solid. Turn 2 frog with force up. Enter the code. Llanowar Reborn. Oh. So I used to think, funny story from SCG Con. I used to think Llanowar Reborn was like 100% hardened scales. Just, oh yeah, of course it's hardened scales. Why wouldn't it be hardened scales? Anybody who thinks it's anything other than hardened scales is an idiot. And I played against, what's it called? Brood scale combo. And the dude played a turn 1 Llanowar Reborn, and I made some comment about it, like, oh, hardened scales. And then turn 2, he played a Brood scale and just scoffed at me like I was an idiot for thinking Llanowar Reborn meant hardened scales. My bad. We're going to go for the Thought Seeds here. Heaven forbid, I think this card that has been played in hardened scales a lot is a hardened scales card. All right. I'm just taking Walker. I don't really have a hanger back answer, and I just gotta like figure out what I'm doing about the rest of it. I either got to take hanger back or Ravager. Ravager's annoying. I also have 2 ways of sacking. So yeah, I'm gonna take hanger back and hope I can find an answer to the Ravager. Yeah, I'd never seen Brood Scale combo play Llanowar Reborn before that. And it just gave me this, like, of course it's Brood Scale combo. Like, nobody else plays Llanowar Reborn. Like, question that. Mopal. Buzz. Buzz buzz. All right. Ink Moth, animated self, get metal craft, can't do anything with it. Go. Maybe I should have forced the opal. I kind of feel like I'd rather just save it for a hardened scales. Ground lock sucks when they don't have a graveyard. That is true. That is a very fair statement, yes. Drown in the Lock sucks in the frog mirror because you just frog exile your yard in response. Why it doesn't get run anymore, no one will run it. I mean, yeah, when like the top two decks in modern right now, one's a flage deck that exiles their own yard, and one's a frog deck that exiles their own yard. It's a little bit of a risky maneuver to throw some Drown in the Locks around. So they can play like Ravager Ballista on one. Fine. That's what we're doing. You're down. Are playing the Ballista. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm blocking this, right? Yeah. If they want to spend a bunch of resources like modular onto the walking ballista and shoot at the frog, I'm kind of okay with that. I think making them commit to a smaller amount of bigger creatures favors my fatal push. Long goodbye, shoot the sheriff. These aren't mercenaries or whatever, are they? This day we found out that walking ballista was an artifact pirate. How much you want to do this? I will make you discard or make you sack some stuff to get this frog off the board. All in on this, aren't we? All right. Now you got to spend one more mana. One more spell. It's dead. This is our life now. The weirdest wrath I've ever seen in my life. Okay, so we'll go for an Undercity Sewers first. In case I haven't... Actually, I probably should have just saved and kept it for the frog. Should have just saved that Flooded Strand in hand to discard to the frog. I guess if I bring back the frog and they give up this Walking Ballista, they have to not make a construct, give up the ballista, and I have a chance of just finding like a Oculus or another Unearth or something off the top. I know they have the forest, yeah. Now, do you value giving up the ballista to take out the frog and not get a construct, or do you value the card? We value the construct. So I guess it ended up working out for us. I do need to find something else pretty quickly. Scolding, not the greatest. Fatal Push is pretty good. Go ahead. Four mana, put a counter on Walking Ballista. Dang. Worth a try. I'm not in a bad spot if I can find an Oculus. I would need to find it like pretty soon. Also wonder if they have Lava Spur boots. Or do they have main deck Pithing Needle? Okay. And you got a welding jar. Very nice. Okay, so I have to let them attack with the construct and the Walking Ballista. Let them attack out. Fatal Push this unblock or this non-attacking construct. It gets the welding jar off the board, taps the construct, reduces this construct by 1, but clears the way for me to attack with frog, so maybe I can find an Oculus. One way or the other, I'm getting a construct or getting a blocker out of the way. And we'll see if we can find an Oculus. Might as well attack with the frogs. Not doing a good job of blocking. Been an Oculus, find and unearth. Been an Oculus, find and unearth, baby. Ugh. Justice. Justice. Play to your outs, ladies and gentlemen. Play to your potential outs. Classic Dimir gamer. Indeed. Indeed. What are we doing? Okay, so am I just fatal pushing a construct, blocking with the thought scour? Probably. I could go for fatal push the ballista. Like, ballista's the best thing they got right now for the long game. If I fatal push a construct, then I can just like chump this second construct for a while. I'm still gonna have to find an answer to this ballista at some point. If I had another unearth, I could block this construct, they animate the ink moth, trade off anyway. All right, so we're looking for another removal spell, obviously. You the real MVP. I don't deserve any of this. I've done nothing worthy of these draws. How does the streamer do it? MTGO Premium, baby. MTGO Premium. Like, what do you want me to do? Lose games of Magic? You think I'm capable of that? What kind of scrub do you take me for? Will, what's up? Came in right at the perfect time. If I were an opponent, I would be like salting off right now, and I would not blame them. All right. Well, that takes care of any future Urza's sagas. Okay. I got nothing, opponent. I can't help you. I tried. I tried my best to not have a chance here. I really did. I really, really did. Like, Spirit, if you see this game, if you end up on YouTube and you watch this at some point, I'm sorry. I made no relevant decisions in this game whatsoever. I have done nothing of any sort of relevance. I don't deserve this. I am 100% aware of this fact. Oh, man. This. Don't play hanger back. Don't play a hanger back. Oh, that might have been one of, if not the like hottest 3-4 turn sequence of hits I've ever had in my life, in my Magic career. I'm just sorry that my opponent had to be a part of it. All right, I won consigns. Brazen Bar are pretty good. Deluge is fine for sweeping up like tokens. EE great against constructs. Thought Seasons and Spell Pierce both bad. I kind of want to keep in Force because it's pretty good against like turn one hardened scales on their side. And I'll probably trim a little bit on unearth package stuff. Or trim a little bit on grave stuff. With Urza's Saga, you know they're going to have Tormod's Crypt or Soul Guide Lantern or something. Now, I will say in the Sultai builds that I've played, this Long Goodbye would be Abrupt Decay, and it would look so much better right here than Long Goodbye. So, Sultai. I was also going over my matchup spreadsheet earlier today and kind of looking at like win rates for some of the different decks since the unbans. And the Sultai win rate was through the roof until I realized like I was only looking at percentages, wasn't a big sample size, and all it really included was like a 4-1 league, uh, a 5-2 challenge, and then like going undefeated one day in side events at the SEG Con. So I would not put a lot of stock into those metrics. Got an opal. Got an opal. I'm going to try my best to stop you from having Metalcraft this turn. That might mean I'm just consigning this. Like, I wish I could go to my turn and Long Goodbye this instead of consigning it now. But I don't want to risk them having, like, a... what's it called? A welding jar or something to follow it up and have Metalcraft online. Getting watery grave instead of basic swamp because I want to give myself the chance of like thought scouring and drawing a consign next turn instead of or thought scouring and like only having basic swamp up. I know it takes a little more damage, but I want to have options. Pithing Needle. Name Psychic Frog. Hangerback Walker. Okay. How am I going to approach this? I could just fatal push the hanger back to get a couple tokens and then decide what we're doing from there. I could attack, see if they block petty theft, the pithing needle, kill the hanger back, and like put a counter or two on the frog. I could petty theft the hanger back right now, so I get to attack with the frog and draw a card. But if I don't hit anything, like if I don't hit a land, it's a pretty underwhelming turn. I'm going to thought scour myself and see what we hit. Not the most exciting rip in the world. I guess I'm just going to have to like wait until I find another land for Toxic Deluge so I can like kill the hanger back on the end of their turn, one of these turns, untap Deluge away the tokens. That's not resolving. That card kind of wrecks my entire world. No way we're main phasing this. You're gonna give me the free frog draw? Take it. Take it. Land. Nice. Okay, so that gives us something to do about this hangerback walker and tokens. I might consider just petty thefting the hangerback into turn and try to like catch ink moth activating to block the frog on my turn. Yeah, I like that. That kind of gives me another draw with the frog. Double check. They have no way to sack the frog or sack the hanger back on board. We'll petty theft that. Go get a surveil land off this verdant catacombs. Boop. Please boop. Surveil land. And we're looking for thing. Yeah. That counters hanger back on the way back down. On. Fire up that ink moth. You want to block. You've been told your whole life how well Ink Moth Nexus blocks Psychic Frog. You want to see it. You want to feel the power. Ew. Three, four, five, six, seven. Pass it back. Could be pretty good if they have to, if they don't hit a land and they have to recast this hanger back for like less than 3. Obviously can't Stern Scolding if they do cast it for 3. Two. No. And they tapped off a Saga. What does that mean? Okay. So we can use up one of these more expensive removal spells. If they want to put the counter on the Ravager, I'm a-okay with that. Like, I'm going to be trying to kill it anyway. They do have... If I go for Fatal Push here, they have to Mox Opal, animate their Ink Moth in response, or they just like lose these counters. I think that's the play. Fatal Push, make them animate the Ink Moth, commit to that, and then we Fatal Push the Ink Moth. If we don't hit like a 4th land, it's kind of awkward with Shoot the Sheriff and Long Goodbye. Double 2-mana removal spells, but we do hit the land. Go ahead and start sacking off some stuff. Maybe sack off a Pithing Needle. Yeah, putting counters on it's fine. We're gonna kill it anyway. My turn. Pretty decent, right? Okay, so get a construct, get a token. I'm going to... fair enough. I was going to say, I'm going to hope and assume that there's nothing this opponent is running that really punishes me here. Kind of going off the assumption that they have to tap out just about to make a construct. They get 1 mana available. If they have something like Karn in their deck, they can float a mana, get a Mox Opal. No, they can't because they won't have a chance for Metalcraft if they do that. So they'd have to like float a mana, get some artifact, make 4, cast Karma, but can't cast anything off of it. And I would have an Oculus and a Frog and a Prayer. So, yeah, if they had something like Karn and could go get Bridge, they couldn't play out the Bridge this turn, but if they played it out next turn, it could be kind of awkward. I'd have a couple looks at like a Consigned to Memory with Cycle the Unearth and the Frog hit and the draw for turn. So, might have had some looks. Regardless, let's see how round number 5 goes. And again, Spirit, if you see this on YouTube, I am sorry about that game 1. We're on the draw. We've got a Force, got a Frog, got an Unearth. Got a couple cantrips to try to find a second land. Oh. Razor Tide Bridge pretty assuredly means something I don't want to see. Some sort of artifact shenanigans, probably Portable Hole. You have an Emery. Okay, so I'm considering Force of Negation here simply because if I counter this, they can't Emery. And I don't have a good answer to Emery right here. I think I am going to force this and we'll get rid of Consider. But I'd rather Thought Scour since I have the Unearth. Well, boy, aren't I the fool for having expectations. Now that whole plan about trying to unearth looks a lot worse in the face of main deck Soul Guide Lantern on 1. Maybe we can set up something like Brazen Borrower or Portable Hole. Going for Make a Big Construct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check and make sure that construct's not legendary, so it can't Mox Amber. All right. Pass it to you. You can find out pretty quickly if they're playing something like Lava Spur Boots. Yep. Probably get like a Mox Opal if they have one. Just out here calling shots like nobody's business. Emery, I can't do anything about right now, but I do have a long goodbye on my turn. Flip over a spell bomb. All right. So we are definitely flying the frog. Long Goodbye is going to do good. They probably have Rebuke up. They Rebuke deck. I guess it makes sense that they'd be a Rebuke deck. Now I do have to Long Goodbye on my turn, because if I pass to their turn, then they can respond to the Long Goodbye with like target something in their yard and get to recast it right away. Or recast it during their main phase, but we do need to get a clock going. This whole pinging for one, not the most effective strategy against a deck full of potential like sagas. I say potential saga, potential more sagas. That'll just outrace me pretty good. Go for this consider. Nah. Okay. Not bad cards. Not bad cards at all. Okay, do I just have to go for this Thoughtseize here? If I'm planning on like Thoughtseize, Petty Theft, the construct on their turn, have Force Negation up. Probably. Ah. Is a legal play, isn't it? Okay. Things changed pretty drastically in GL. They cannot currently cast an Urza, but any untapped land or like another Opal would let them. I can Petty Theft the Thopter Foundry and try to counter it on the way back down. I can discard the Oculus and Unearth because they're tapped off of Soul Guide right now. Maybe I discard, get back Oculus, hold up Force for Sword of the Meek. Is that my best plan? If they resolve an Urza, life kind of sucks, but I think that's my plan. I think I need to get this Oculus down while they're tapped off of the Soul Guide Lantern. I have force if they go to hard cast. Force pitch the snare. And we just kind of hope they don't hit the mana source for a turn. This is why we don't have expectations. Expectations get you killed in this game. We still get to force this. And I think we'll ditch the Harbinger so that I can look towards petty thefting the Thopter Foundry and spell snare it on the way back down. I have to take this. They can Thopter Foundry, sack one thing. So I kind of need to block. I hate losing a frog here, but they can make two dudes, can't they? Such a bad spot. I definitely need to bounce this Thopter Foundry. I guess they don't have like that many tokens they can sacrifice. I'm gonna pass through. They're gonna draw a card. Well then. Maybe I just let them have that. No. Can't let them have that. I was gonna say, if they're like not gonna use it to make tokens, then I might should just let them, but it's kind of the fact that they can use it to make tokens. That one. One unknown card. Hear that. Like another Urza. Or is this spin Urza? Feels like spin Urza. Yep. Tamio, inquisitive student. If I double block one of these constructs, does that get any better for me? Or do I just have to block one of them and hope? Gonna double block because I still get like a chump blocker after. There's always the chance that we draw into another unearth or something. Kind of assume they chump this, but maybe not. Not the best draw in the world. Funny that we do get to like flash in this borrower and block Tamio if they attack with it. Cast it first in case we don't want them to get the clue and be able to draw right away in case they find like Metallic Rebuke off the top. Two, three, four. Still spin Urza. Now, if they spin Urza into, oh no, I can't get a Spell Pierce. I was thinking I wanted to be able to get a basic swamp in case I found a Harbinger. Should have just gone for Blood Strand, sure. All right, removal spells. Removal spells, removal spells, removal spells. That strip mines a Saga and stands in front of a construct token for a turn. Like no reason not to attack with the frog. If they block with Urza, we're happy about that. Fatal push the construct. Play the Harbinger. Go. Snare's been countering Thopter Foundry for like a decade. I'm using little interaction. That is pretty funny, actually. It also turns off Mox Opal randomly. Swag Tusk. Froggen's been good today. I cannot complain. 3-1 in this league right now. Seen some stuff. So like a black-red mid-range list with Dothies and Croxes. Team Vents off the top is how we won that game. I have no idea. Literal zero clue. But you know what? I will take it. EE, Extirpate, Borrower, Mystical Dispute. What a game indeed. Purple Orb. The Dan the Snake MTG, thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had an awesome stream. Welcome everybody from the raid. Playing some Dimir Oculus. Currently 3-1 in this league, seeing if we can feed some children. Really should have just made my students do independent work today and watch the stream instead. But what were you playing? Dante the Snake. Sorry, did I say Dan the Snake? Dante the Snake, MTG. Torpor Orb stops Urza, stops ETB on Emery, but doesn't stop like actual activation of Emery. Pretty good chance that they've got a decent bit of Grave Hate. I think I don't want Spell Pierce. Trim on a little bit of stuff. Trim on like an Unearth, Thought Scour. Horse looked good. 3 more. 3 more is so many cuts. Kind of a lot of trimming pieces here. I'll usually like trim an Oculus against decks that have Grave Hate that hits the entire graveyard. So if they're on something like Ghost Vacuum, I probably won't trim it. But if they're on something like Soul Guide Lantern that our opponent showed us, I'll trim it, or trim one. Don't do anything too sketchy. Got the full run out. Gonna say if they had the full like artifact, land, bauble, opal, Emery, or something like that on turn 1, be a little disappointed, but what you got? What kind of shenaniganery are we up to? Opal is live. Yeah. Don't like really want to mystical dispute this Emery. I'd rather save the dispute for, or this Tammy. I'd rather save it for like an Emery or something, but got it. I need to use it. That's a pretty good draw. Let's go basic swamp, play a frog. Hopefully get to force something on their turn. Get the basic swamp, so if we find a third land, we can jam the Harbinger. Portable hole. Portable, go away. Kind of rude. Kind of rude. Hope we can tap correctly. One of these frogs has got to stick, right? Or Work for a portable hole. Fair. Funny, but fair. Play out spell bomb. Say go. Maybe we can mystical disputed Urza or like another whir. It's like if they word that aggressively for a portable hole, I kind of feel like they might have another whir. Got a whir in response, you got a whir in response, but I need to get this Harbinger down now that I'm seeing an Urza's Saga. Please resolve. Dang. Okay. We're still playing. What are we looking at now? Petty theft at construct. Construct's a 5/5. Next one's a 6/6. This one's a 6/6. Next is a 7. How's the build been so far? I have missed counterspell on multiple occasions. Not gonna lie. All right, let's. I kind of want to surveil here so that if I see an unearth on top, I can cycle the spell bomb into it and get this saga. Like I don't deal with the first construct, but I do still have the brazen borrower. Tower's not doing a whole lot for me, so sit back on the borrower plan. Well, shit. What are we well shitting about? Yeah, like round one, I saw Boros Energy, which is like the matchup that I think you're supposed to want to cut counter spells in because being on the draw into a lot of their stuff, a lot of their early aggressive threats, it can be awkward if you like have a bunch of counter spells and they're playing one drops and stuff. The problem there is once you get through those early draws and it starts becoming about escaping Flage or casting Showdown of the Scolds or something like that, and you're sitting there with Stern Scolding and Spell Snare and Spell Pierce or a top deck Thought Seize, then it gets really, really bad really, really quick. That's when you just really, really want a counter spell. All right, gonna cycle this spell bomb. We're not in a horrible spot if we can find an answer to this construct token, which that is not. But really needed to find like an engineered explosives. And explosives on one would be pretty nutty. Yeah, being able to do something like turn 3 unearth an Oculus plus counterspell and just not have to deal with anything is pretty nice. What you got? I think we got like another draw step in us, depending on what they do here. No way to instant speed make this bigger. That cannot block a big trampling construct token. So go to game 3. We saw portable hole, so consign could be a little bit better. Kaito, I don't know if I want extirpate. I was kind of thinking I wanted it for like the Thopter Sword combo. But with Mystical Dispute, Spell Snare, Thought Seize, Force, like, I might just have enough for combo. Maybe I want to bring back in the Spell Pierces on the play. Get into like Whir and stuff that way. But they are pretty bad into Opal, like Mox Opal, Mox Amber starts. Kind of like bring one back in and bring the third Thoughtseize back. See if I can find a hand of like Thoughtseize into Frog on the play. Thoughtseize, yes. Frog land, no. I like this deck. I like this. Force is gone. Snare is gone. Since we got the Mystical Dispute, I'll pass with the Catacombs. We can answer like an Emery or a Tameo. Or just, they've played like Razor Verge tapped past the first couple turns, so. It's a lot of cheap artifacts. No second land Emery. Or second Opal Emery. I'm mulligan so much when I play this deck. I'm mulligan a decent bit. Mulligan like a lot more on the play than on the draw. All right, well, their hand's not doing a whole lot, so that's kind of nice. Obviously, they've got an Opal redraw or a Bobble redraw. Draw for turn. And I don't think I can fetch here because of Whir. I just have to pass back. But like, I lose pretty heavily if I do something like Cast Consider, don't hit a land, and they have like Whir into untap Urza. This is also the reason that I did not fetch on their instep, because they could have just responded to the fetch with Whir. I don't want to put myself in a spot where I just like auto lose to them getting a Thopter Foundry or something. Same reason I'm not going to fetch again this turn. Pass back. I really want to get a Surveil land. Got pay for Mystical Dispute. So am I just force pitching Dispute at this point, or am I worried about them having like another whir? I guess I can force pitch Consider. That means I still have an answer to Urza. I've got an answer if they had like a Rebuke on the Force. But I've got like second whir of Invention feel in my head. Like that's their last card. It's just the thought running around. That's what it feels like. And they're waiting to see if I tapped out at some point. Definitely on top and Drew. They don't have Opal active now. So I can Mystical Dispute this Tameo. Unless they have a Metallic Rebuke. Love a Frog or an Oculus. Something. I guess that answers a whir. Vernon said. Yeah, I've got to answer that. Vernon said, "Don't draw frog, please." This is hurting both of us. Frog, Oculus. All right. Save that around in case I find a frog. Who's going to hit a relevant top deck first? That is fine at the moment. Somebody's going to do something and win this game eventually. Got it. Might do it. Harbinger, Oculus, Cantrip. Yes, Technically, that answers the 2 construct tokens. If I kill that, or if I think this, I can just recast it right away. Ugh. Those kill some construct tokens, I guess, but still don't have an answer to the actual Urza. I thought Thopter Sword had been like thrown in the fires of Mount Doom where it belonged. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So spin Urza twice. Kind of Saga off Urza. Okay. I think we're pretty cooked here. I don't think they meant to do that. All right, Oculus or bust. And I guess we're still kind of playing. When you spin Urza, you have to use that or cast that thing right away, right? So they can't like spin Urza into a mystical dispute or metallic rebuke and get to like save it for sink into stupor. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I love the fact that their Urza's hits have been pretty awful. But unfortunately, they just have an Urza, so not a whole lot we can do. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. I wish I could afford Opals so I could play OP's deck. There have been a couple Opal decks that I looked or thought looked kind of cool, but Same thing. I really don't want to go buy Opal and Amber and Urza's Saga just to play like I don't want to say meme value deck, but a value deck that like has a lot of uncertainty to it. It's a high risk, high reward value deck. I guess that's the best way of putting it. Main phase spin the Urza, which I guess is probably right. This. All right. I mean, I guess I could top deck an engineered explosives. And that would be pretty solid. Does that mean I need to just take this? Take it. Never been afraid of going to one in my life. EE. EE off the top rope. About 17 turns too late. Oh, I hate that. Not that I hate Thopter Sword. I kind of hate Thopter Sword. But I hate having a good league and running into something at the end that I just have like no preparation for whatsoever. But it happens. Talk about some of the card choices in this list. So like I mentioned before we started, this is a list that Pygon, or it's like 65 of 75 of a list that Pygonti put on Twitter. And the idea is cutting Murktide, cutting the counter spells, cutting Murktide because you don't want to be like so grave reliant, and cutting counter spells because they're really awkward in Modern right now if you have multiples in your opening hand, especially on the draw. You're just not interacting very well early. So trading those out for some more 1-mana interaction, and then trading the Murktides out for just like, in this case, Brazen Borrower, Harbinger in the main, extra spell pierces, thought seizes, that kind of stuff. Things that I liked about the main deck. Thought Seize was kind of okay. Stern Scolding was a little bit awkward. And the land count felt light. Felt like there were a lot of times I had 2 lands and I really wanted to find the third to hardcast Oculus or Harbinger. But when you're only running 19 mana sources, it's pretty unreliable to hit 3 on 3 without having cantrips hit. The spell pierces weren't very good. Like I said, Thoughtseize was okay. Stern Scolding was okay, but not great. I feel like Spell Snare kind of covers what you're wanting to cover with these while also hitting other cards. Like hitting Counterspell late or hitting Bombardment late or something like that. Hitting Kroxa. Got the Spell Snare, or could have Spell Snare to Kroxa. So I feel like that was a big deal. And I feel like losing those 4 counter spells hurt in the mirror. I really wanted a few more pieces of like actual permission in the mirror instead of situational permission, or more specifically, permission that if I tried to interact with them and they countered my interaction, I didn't really feel like I could counter back in a meaningful way. Sideboard, we didn't see a Torpor Orb matchup, so still haven't tested that one. Deluge, meh. Extirpate, we brought in twice, I think. We tried it in the mirror, didn't look very good. Opponent's surgical to us in the mirror, and we just didn't care, so I think I mentioned it at the start of that match. I don't usually like surgical effects in the mirror, and I don't think Extirpate makes any exception to that. Kaito is cool. Did some work in the mirror, but I still feel like I only want Kaito if I'm on 4 Bowmasters, and without those, I probably don't want it. EE was solid. Like, there were several times that I kept thinking, like, if I draw EE, I'm in a pretty good spot. So maybe I'll try a second EE over a Toxic Deluge. Dispute. Okay, so Mystical Dispute and Spell Pierce, I feel like have a lot of the same issue. And you're going to say, oh yeah, that's obvious. When I say, obviously they're good early, good turn 1 and 2, and die off as the game goes on. But it's like consistently they're dying off really heavily. Like Mystical Dispute counters a turn 2 frog on the player of the draw, except nobody's casting their frogs on turn 2. So now you're just waiting for like turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, whatever, at which point they're just paying for it. Or it doesn't touch Unearth unless you full retail it, which is rough. And everything being on like your opponent's turn means you're just not really leveraging the mana advantage. Like if you go for Bowmaster or something on my end step and I go to counter, you counter, I counter back with Mystical Dispute, then yeah, I got a mana advantage on that dispute, but if you just untap with all of your mana, who cares that I got a mana advantage? Because now you're back to full mana. So I feel like Mystical Dispute's not doing as much as I want it to do. We'll think of replacements. Stop the recording there. How long was that? That was like 3 hours for one league. Like, I want to do another league. I cannot do another 3-hour league, but I'm not really wanting to do something test-wise, like some other non-Oculus deck. If I'm playing a league, it's got to be with an Oculus deck. Because of the RCs coming up, there's just like no reason to jam games with something that I'm not going to play at an RC. Obviously, the less exciting answer, but kind of how it goes sometimes. So I think what we're gonna do, I think we're gonna raid meat, playing some Yawgmoth. Not so loud in my ears. We're gonna raid meat. So if you want to check out some Yawgmoth content, then feel free to stick around, share some love from the chat. Otherwise, we will be streaming a lot more regularly now, which is great because now like the holidays are over and we're getting into the start of RC testing. A lot more to play, a lot more going on. So we'll have more consistent streams. So if you're enjoying the content, enjoying the commentary, feel free to leave a like on the screen or on the stream. Leave a follow. Greatly appreciate it. Love to have you back. As always, dropping a few links in chat for the Twitter, for the Discord, if you want to come talk about the list or other Blue, Black, Oculus, Shadow, whatever list. The Discord's a cool place to be. And YouTube, if you want to see the league we just played and others up over there. But other than that, hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your afternoon, evening, night. Stay safe. Enjoy some good food and company. I'll catch y'all back live later. Adios for now.